All right, let's start here. This is my primary source of information when I work regularly as a developer. This and of course Google.com. Everybody Googles these days, and all of the good suggestions in the chat with RPG.com and others. They are very good places to get information on whatever you're searching. The SQL services are under the database, and then performance and query optimization.
Sven, I already got a message. It's people asking if you could make that, if you could just zoom in a little bit more on the screen.
Bigger?
Yes, please. It's very small.
Oh, hold on. I'll try.
Control plus maybe, I don't know. There we go. Hey, that's better. Great. Excellent. Thank you.
Maybe I don't need my glasses anymore. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So under here, performance and query optimization, we have the services down here. I call them services, all of them. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I call them services. They are divided into DB2 for iServices. That's only database services. And then we have the IBM iServices, and here we have a bunch of them categorized in different topics. Application services, IFS services, and so on and so forth, all the way down. And then IBM has put these services in different libraries. They are usually QSys2 or systools. So if I open up application services and take a whatever job we take, yeah, clear data queue procedure. There we are. So this procedure is located in schema QSys2. It says that it has a similar function as the QCLR DTAQ API. This means that, from my perspective anyway, maybe I'm wrong now, but from my perspective, that means that this clear data queue procedure is using this or a similar version of this as the same function underneath the covers. It also describes how the procedure is working and all the different things you can have within your search or whatever you want to use this for. We're actually going to see this in a while, so I'm going to demonstrate this one. And in the bottom, which I feel is very nice because it gives you a picture on what this is. It's usually in examples. In this case, it's this example. Call this procedure using these two variables. So all of these services are described in the same way. We can take another one just for, say, data area info table function. This is described in the same way. It uses the retrieve data area CL command in the bottom together with this API. And it's working in the same way. It's built up in the same way. And in the bottom, we have a little example on how to use this. So all of these, I'm mostly using these that are for applications. So there are a bunch of others in other areas like PTF services, security services, pool services, and so on. But my mainly focus is up here somewhere. That's where I have the most use of them in my daily work. So yeah, this is where you find the information about these different services that are around.
Are there any particular services that you would say are your go-to, or that you use more than any other one? Are there any favorites that you seem to use over and over again?
Yeah, I can. We will start with actually my favorites in a minute. I will start with my favorites in a minute.
Okay. Great.
And there are a bunch of examples out there on internet. So just if these examples that IBM has not provided are good for understanding or whatever reason there is, just search on Google. You will find thousands of examples, not thousands, but a lot of examples on different ones. All right. Let's see. So let's start with one of my favorites. It's the IFS object statistics procedure. It will give me whatever is under this starting point in the IFS.
I got another. I'm sorry, Sven. Another.
That's all right.
Make it larger again, please.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sure, of course.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
I think that's better. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Oh, of course. You're welcome. Anyway, in this case, I will start in -home-iChime directory and see what's underneath there. Subtree directories no means that I will only get what's underneath directly this starting point. If there are others in here that's lower, I will not see them. So let's run this and see what happens. So this is what I have underneath home and iChime. There's a lot of a few directories and a lot of normal files. In this case, there are XML and text documents. If I change this no to a yes, hopefully I will see more. And yeah, there is another directory in here that I couldn't see before, this one, which is below this directory, or in this directory. So that's the subtree directories flag, maybe. What else? What if I just want to see all my documents within this directory, home and iChime? I'll use all STMF on this particular one and run this, and I get all the documents, and I had yes here, so if there is a document underneath this one, I will get that one too, and yes, there is one. So this is, I have used this. This is this is a few years ago. We built a automatic function that went in to read a certain folder. If there was a document in there, we started to process that document. It was an XML document that had billing information that came into the company that I worked for then. So instead of having a bunch of XML documents coming in at once, and then you had a job starting at a certain time of day, that was up and running all the time, and as soon as there was a document in there, we took care of it, and then the job went down to sleep mode until there was another one in there, and then we took care of that. So that's where I've used this a couple of times. It works good.
Before you go to the next one, so I have a question I want to ask you. So before we had this particular service, what might have you had to do to get the same information without the service? If you had to do this, if they didn't have this good wrapper for you?
Yeah, there are a few. I think there are C programs or C modules that you can use for this. I will show them in a minute, a few of them, maybe not for this guy, but for other guys, which is the same thing. And it's in this RPG program. This RPG program is actually from a production box, but I have changed certain things in here because I cannot show the real deal. But in this binding directory, there are a few C programs or C modules that you can use. In this particular case, I have a table in, or an index, but in this case I'm using it as a logical file. So you can see that the XML tags in this program is creating an XML document are hard-coded in constants. So down here, where all starts, it has three procedures in here. One is for creating the document, and here are the C stubs. So open in this case will create a document, an empty document on a specific path with a specific name in there. There is one similar to this where you can read what's on the IFS. I think it's called read actually. So answer that question for you, Charlie. The next thing is that I will create this XML document. This is purely RPG and nothing else. Nothing wrong with this. This is just one way to do this. There's nothing wrong with it. And then I will end creating the document, closing up the document. So if I run this over here.
Are you saying, Sven, that all that RPG is replaced by that one service?
Mm-hmm. Kind of. Let's create one. You say that it's called customer XML. I'm creating one that's I will call the document customer XML.xml, and over here I will change this to document XML. So this is a read. I will read from the IFS. Hopefully I will have created this document now. So I will read the IFS for this. And nope. Sorry.
That's okay. We do live demos, and
here we are. So this is my XML document, or XML document. And using this technology, so it works, nothing wrong with it. But if I want to change this and use purely SQL, well, first of all, the program or the modules, all source lines will be a whole lot less. So here we are. This is actually replacing all that.
That one statement is replacing all those procedures.
This statement here is replacing all this. So what does it do? Well, the service is IFS write. It's in QSys2. It needs a path name, and that's the same as the other program. Nothing different. And the line, I do a select and I create the XML document using SQL functions in this case. And override says here that replaces that if there is a document, I will replace it. If there is no document, I will create it and put the data in here that this select statement will get. Since this is XML and I probably want to use it somewhere else than on the I need to say that it's UTF-8, so the CCS ID is 1208. And in this case, I don't have any end of line, so that's none. But if I say that I've created a text document and I have line after line after line, I might want to have carriage return line feed in here. So then I have to add that. So if I run this program instead, I call the document out customer 5 and go back to my SQL. It's the same thing. So all of this I can replace with one SQL statement. To
That's
bear
pretty
in mind, it is. To bear in mind here is that as all other things in SQL, we work line by line or row by row. So if I have a select, I don't know what name from this table, and the table is more than one row, I will get an error. So then I have to put that in a do while or something like that. So in this case, creating an XML document is kind of fairly nice to this service because it's just one line.
So I'm getting a couple of questions, Sven, that I'd like to present to you. So the first one I got was, if I already have the work done in RPG and it's in production, should I go back and replace that code with a service or just leave stable code as is? What are your thoughts on that?
My thought is that if something works, don't change it. If you don't absolutely have a need for it, to change it, whatever the need is. But if something is broken and you need to change it, why not look at it in a new way?
Okay.
That's my take on it.
That's a fair response.
I'm a developer, and what I know, we all developers are kind of a little bit lazy. So
if we had to go back and, if we had to go back and change all of our code, that would be what we'd be doing, I suppose. And that's a whole discussion on refactoring, I guess.
Yeah. But I mean, if something is broken, then you fix it. And if you have time, why don't fix it in a new way?
Sure. Some other questions, and then I have someone who actually wants to remark on this, and that is, you just showed us the first one, and you have several more to show us, but you showed us how this one service replaced a lot of code and easily replaced that code. And the concern, I'm going to bring in Dawn May, who is an IBM performance expert, currently also the president of Common US, but she's also well known for her expertise as a performance expert on IBM. And Dawn, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Dawn. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So one of the concerns that Dawn has about, I mean, I don't want to say, maybe it's not a concern, maybe it is, Dawn, but in the simplicity, how have maybe people, do they have run into trouble with services because they just get maybe enamored perhaps with the simplicity that they kind of forget what's actually happening under the covers? Or is that a fair way to ask the question?
I think it is a fair way to ask the question. And when, we're looking at this from an application perspective, you need to consider, what you're doing and how often it runs. And where I've really seen this problem surface significantly is if you're doing things to watch your system performance. Active job info is one that I see abused significantly. And I've seen monitoring solutions out there using active job info to find the jobs that are using the most CPU. And when you run that a lot, that little utility ends up taking more CPU than anything else on the box. And so you have to just be aware of unintended consequences. Sven showed here using the filters. And it's really important to use filters like journal info and put those filters in as opposed to using a where clause. I've seen journal info using no filters with a where clause running 100% flat out using as much CPU as it could. You put the filters in and it's done very, very fast. So it's just, you got to be aware of when you use them repetitively, they're not free. And what are you using them for? And so rather than doing things like active job info, yes, it's easy. You really should be looking at the underlying performance data and gathering your data from there, which is trivial and system resources in comparison. So just use common sense when you look at how you want to access information, particularly things that you might want to do on a regular and ongoing basis.
So, right. So use them smartly, but certainly I'm going to continue people to use them because I think it's giving us opportunities to do applications that we haven't had in the past.
Absolutely. Don't disagree with that. It's just I've seen cases where the performance characteristics aren't what you would want on a production environment. So just be cognizant that they're easy, but they're not necessarily free. No,
that's a fair statement because, I mean, the truth is there is underlying code happening, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you for that input. It's a well taken, of course, but and right, as long as we're cognizant of what's happening, I think it's I'm sure Sven, by all means, let's use these things as we can because if it can speed up development time, then I'm all for that. Cool. Sven, do you have another example you'd like to, or is this a continuation of the existing one?
Yep, we continue. I'm just saying that I agree with Don. Not that long time ago that I ended up crashing a server, so yeah, I agree with Don. And I'm lucky it was in a development box, so I'm lucky. But it can happen in production, of course. So I agree with Don. I agree.
Sure.
When I was doing these examples, I was in, let's see if I can get this right, here. And the IFS services are down here. And I was looking at all these ones, IFS job info, object lock info, so on and so forth. Read, rename, write. IFS delete object or similar is not in here. Why not? So what I did was I created my own kind of a service. Here it is. Using just a normal RPG program. This IFS object statistic is the folder there to start with. Otherwise, it's no use to remove something if it doesn't work. If it's not there, sorry. And then I just created a command, remove link, and that's whatever it's needed here. And I'm using another service called QCMDexec that we have used so many times before in RPG. And that one needs two variables or two values. It needs the actual command and the actual length. In QSys2, the actual length is missing. We don't need that. It takes care of that for us. So this is then embedded in a service program, and around the service program I created a function, document to delete. So maybe IBM is coming with that. We'll see. And this works well too. And then it comes down to Don's point. Now I can. If the service is not there and I create one for myself, and in this one is actually a user-defined function, but it can be as a service. I can control that thing that Don was talking about. So in this case, let's say that I want to remove my XML document. There's called Ghost1. Hopefully this works. And let's run this. Ghost1 is gone. So then I created my own little service. You can call it that if you want to. But in this case, it's user-defined function. And I think the IFS functions or the IFS services are a fairly easy way to start with services if you haven't done them in the past and if you're very familiar with how IFS works and what it's for. So that's the end of the IFS demo. Let's move on.
Does anybody have any
Data area.
questions? Does anybody have questions before we move on to the next one? I haven't seen any new questions in the chat there. Okay, you can keep going, Ben. Sorry.
Thanks. That's all right. I'm just gonna remove those two data areas. And data area is another one of those services that in where I have worked, where I work now, and where I worked in the past. There are use of, I will not say a lot of data areas, but a few of them. So back to the QCMD exec from a SQL point of view. So, and this is the same thing. So I will create these two data areas. You know all about the these this creation of data. You've done it before. So there is a in this case this is a view. It's not a function, but it's a view. And let's see if the data areas were created, and there they are. So one is character 50 length, and one is decimal 5 with 2 decimal positions. So where do I use this? Well, first of all, it's the value in the data area that is whatever we need it for, that we usually reach out to or read. So in this case, this data area doesn't have any values at this point, so it gives me back 0. 0 is a value, but it doesn't have any values. Let's add some value to that one. The same thing again, QCMD exec, very useful. And run this guy again. Now there's the 8 value is in there. So this is how to read a data area. We can do it the same with the character ones. Of course, there's no difference. And I got the value back.
Yeah, it's a good value you got in there.
Well, it is, Charlie. It's the truth.
iChime is cool. Now, why would you use this instead of a traditional retrieve data area?
Or if you just want the actual value, there's no difference. But if you want the value and you want to join that with some table or something else, then you can do that in the same statement.
I should have pointed that out because it is SQL. We can certainly add joins and order bys and and wheres, as we said earlier, and we can put this as part of a much larger query.
Exactly. And the same case here is these are all described over here, up here in the application services section. So there is data area info, table, or view. I don't see a data area set new information or write new information to a data area. So the same thing here. I'll create a module, hopefully. That is actually, it's the data area there, so I don't send in the data area that does not exist. I get the length of the data area, what the type of data area it is, and then I use the same command again and the QCMD exec to change the value in the data area. And around that, of course, I have a function in this case. Let's see if that is correct. Yeah, so I changed the value of the data area using a function instead. And of course, I can do this with RPG, same thing. If I just want to change one value and it has nothing to do with anything else. But if there is a update for a table somewhere or in certain amount of other things around an SQL statement, then you might want to do this instead. I don't know. It's just another way of doing the same thing. So that's data areas.
Awesome. I know you have some cool ones coming up, like creating a spreadsheet.
It's coming up. Let's start with data queue. Data queues is like, I got a question from a friend of mine a couple of years ago. Who is using data queues? I'm like, there's a lot of people, a lot of shops that are using data queues. I don't know if he didn't like them, but anyway, there are a lot of people that are using them. And same here, there is two ways of doing the same thing. But let's first create a data queue, simple one, and see what information we can get from it using a object statistics. So that's the data queue name. It's a data queue. I'm the owner, I'm the definer. It was created now. Oh, by the way, if you jump on the clock here, or the time here, it's because the server is in Sweden. And a lot of other information around here, around the corner. So let's play around with this a little bit. Let's send a message on the data queue. Is this guy? It's send. It's down here. Send data queue. Let's see. Run this. And there are two services for reading a data queue. It's the receive data queue. That one is the same as the API that will receive the message and take the message away from the data queue like we normally do. So if I run this once more, there are no messages there. But if we have a lot of messages and we just want to see which messages are in there, we don't want to remove them, the data queue entries procedure is a very effective way to do this. So now I can see that I have 4 messages in here. Maybe you have a production issue. There are 1,400 messages in the data queue. What are the messages? Why aren't they coming through? Now you can read them and see that. And from my understanding, a very easy way to say, oh, there's an error here. There should be whatever character in this position or whatever it is. And also, if you know that all of this is mumbo jumbo, then I can clear my data queue for all the entries, and this is the data queue entries. Sorry, that one, my bad. So clear data queue, and now there hopefully are no entries in my data queue. Yep. So how can this look like in a RPG program, for instance? Let's take the it's the same customer table that I have my 4 customers. It's a huge company. In this case, it's the normal API that we normally use. I've been doing that for years. The queue send data queue API. I read the file and I send the messages on the data queue like this. This is what we have done over the years, back and forth. And with SQL, instead, it will look like this. So get the data. In this case, I want to have it like this, and I just use this guy instead to send it on the data queue. And there are a lot of things up here that disappears that we don't need anymore. But of course, there can be a performance issue. So as Don said, keep that in mind. It's not 100% bulletproof or free for one of those kind of thoughts. Those we need to think about all the time. So that's data queue. Now we come to the spreadsheet part. If we didn't have anything to do with a spreadsheet, maybe this is a way to do things, I don't know. And then save this in an Excel sheet or whatever we want to do. There is a service out there called Generate Spreadsheet. And there are, if we don't say what kind of type it is, it will generate this as a .csv file. But the path name with the name of the document, or in this case the spreadsheet name, the query from where we want to get the data, and column headings is that will I use the columns from the table or not. So let's run this. Excuse me. Let's delete that one. Yeah. Where's my? There's. It takes a little while. In this case, it's probably because they're doing a lot of things underneath the covers. And let's have this SQL procedure or service, sorry, to look what's in there. So here it is. This is a CSV file. But what if I create this with spreadsheet type XLSX instead? One here says that it was created. Oops, sorry. Here we are. This is not readable for us, but I have one here.
So it just
there it is.
It just put a spreadsheet. It just put a spreadsheet into the IFS.
Yep. And I don't have an extension to read the Excel spreadsheets in VS Code, but why don't connect this with another one? Send email.
Let me go back to that Excel just for a minute, because that's pretty amazing. That's, Excel is surely, for our customers, one of the most popular, if not the most popular way they want to see reports now. And they don't want to see spoof reports anymore. They want to see things in spreadsheets.
Yep.
I can see this being very helpful.
I can also say, usually don't ask me which TR everything is in or in which version of IBM everything in this. But in this case, if you are on 7.4, I know you have to be on TR 8 or 9 to use this. I think you have to be, or 7.5. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is like that. But yeah, this is a powerful way to create spreadsheets. Yep, I think so.
Amazing.
It is. So How about sending emails? You could do what was that name? SNDDST something, and you could send away an email if your server was attached or was communicating with a email server somewhere. Now these days, I guess the email server has moved on to the IBM I. Anyway, send email. If this does not work for you at home, it's because send email is using this CL command. And if this CL command does not work for you, then this procedure will not work. So that's an easy way to see that if it works or not. So that was my case. This didn't work, so then of course this guy didn't work. And with a little effort behind the covers, everything now is working, hopefully. We'll see if I can send that email. Easy to email somebody in my this is my email address, but a subject, a email body, and this will create an email, and I can show you. Well, that's very nice to have. How about the salary report that I created with generating spreadsheets?
Sven, I know with email in particular, if there's some setup that you have to do. I don't think you can just send email. You have to have like things like directory entries and things like that set up properly.
Yep. Yes, you have to, and that's out of my expertise. Actually, I usually have a technician somewhere that I can talk to and say, hey, I need this, help me, and they usually are very good in helping me out. You need to have a response email address. Your email server that you're sending to needs to say that, okay, this is okay to send an email from this server, and all those things too. So it's not just create this and let it and it works. There are some things around this that has to work before you even try. That's why I'm saying that if you try this and it doesn't work, well, then try this CL command instead. And if that doesn't work, then you know what the problem is.
Actually, I think it's saying it right there. It's saying, it talks about the SMTP has to be up and running. So these are, so
there are a few other things, but yeah.
Yeah, and directory entries, but it would tell you how to do all that. And I know in my own experience, sending email without this API can be a little complicated. So this is a real amazing way to do this.
I hope there are no sweets on this call, but when I'm starting a new job, maybe eventually, I don't know, or a new assignment, why don't have this around a for loop of, I don't know what, 1,000 times, and then have whatever email address is in here and say what, hello, goodbye, and I don't know what. But if you want to have fun with your colleagues. But yeah, this is an awesome way to do this. I think it is in a way. And this one I would really like to show you. I can't do that on this box.
There's another question in the chat.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
It's okay. It's saying, has anybody had success generating a spreadsheet and then sending email in a batch job, or either CLLE or SQL RPG? It works interactive, but when I put it into batch, it blows up. That's the entire message. I don't have any other context but that.
I don't have an answer on that. Sorry.
Okay. Maybe what comes to my mind immediately without me, I don't know, job description perhaps, maybe something that's different when it's running in batch. I don't know.
I don't think that will be an issue because it's batch. I mean, a job is a job. I cannot answer that right away. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Somebody else put in a response to that. Is it the same user ID? That might, I suppose that might be it as well. It might be an authority issue. Who knows?
Yeah, you have to have things in the directory, so it could be that.
Those are just some things to think about, yeah. Okay.
All right. The last one. I got one of my colleagues a couple of months ago asked me, how can I compare two files or two tables? And I'm like, right on my head is, well, exception join, but no, but I want to know from column to column, what are the matches and what are the non-matches? Okay, so actually I ran into this one and I stumbled over it. I didn't know it existed. I just, reading what kind of services there are there, and I was like, compare file. My colleague might want to know what this is. So I was looking into it and I tested a little bit, and so I went to my colleagues, is this what you were looking for? And he said, yeah, finally, that's what I'm looking for. And he is a tester, so he compares files before and after and see what the difference is and all that. On this box, I cannot run it, but I did it on another box to show you the differences. And if it's, what you do is you have the compare file service, library 1, and whatever file or table you have. And library can be the same library, but then it has to be another table, but it has to be the same kind of way. And do I want to compare the attributes, yes or no? So this is taken from another box. It's a screenshot. Hopefully it's visible. So
we can
first,
see it. We can see it.
Perfect. So it doesn't say, it doesn't tell you what is not matching. It's just tell you that these relative or record numbers are not matching. Then you have to look yourself what is not matching, so to speak. So in this case, it's very simple. File 2 has 10 extra rows that file 1 doesn't have in this case. Also, I get a lot of information down here, and that is because of compare attributes, yes. If I don't have that, it means that. So then I only get the data comparison.
I can see this being very helpful for debugging, for example. And I know we have journaling, and we can compare journal images, but this is a very quick way to compare the result of data manipulation on a table, for example.
Also here, I would really like to point out that, of course, the bigger tables you have, the longer it takes.
Yeah, but that time can be well spent if it's going to solve a debugging issue, for example. I think.
Yeah, it is. But I just want to point out that it takes a little bit of time to run this one.
Well, I guess the underlying would be compare physical file member. That would be the comparable underlying. I don't know what this is actually using under the covers, but what comes to my mind is CMP PFM.
I don't remember which one it is.
Yeah, that's right okay. Now. Maybe database. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
That's okay. We can.
But it's very useful.
That's comparing, and that's comparing physical files.
Yes.
Compare files.
Or tables.
Or tables, right? Of course. Okay.
That was actually all I wanted to